Hey, here we are live at the Lone Star Sports Show right here on the Lone Star Sports Network in the heart of North Texas. All things sports, all things Texas. How was your vacation, Coach?
It was great. Went to Canada for first time in about 20 years.
Okay, all right.
Cool.
Was 3 or 4 days over there. Did you stop somewhere else or do anything else?
2 days in Buffalo, 2 in Toronto, 2 in Ottawa, Illinois, the famous hometown of Tom Inman.
Okay. So that must be, is that a suburbs of Chicago or like 40 miles outside of
It's
Chicago?
about 40. It's out by Joliet, kind of. My dad's a school teacher, and when he got an offer from Chicago Public Schools, he said, "Yeah, I might get Steinmetz, but I might end up at I could end up at Simeon, Robeson, or anywhere else." So he said, "I'll bail."
Yeah. Hey, no, makes a lot of sense, man. Good for you. I got a chance to move around a little bit too. My moving around was work though.
Yeah, I would have liked to have been out there for a day or two with you guys. I was a little bit jealous of you and Anya. I mean, I had obviously had a great time and everything, but you guys were involved in some pretty high level basketball.
Yeah, watching high level basketball, high level talent for sure. Little flashes of high level basketball here and there. What I always enjoy is watching the young NBA players working on their craft of those that are aspiring to be coaches. I thought the point guard, what's his name?
Rondo.
I think he really got a chance to be okay. And what's the 6'10", 6'11" kid that comes on ESPN all the time in the morning?
Ryan Hollins.
Ryan Hollins had a passion for it. And there were some other guys there too. I remember seeing John Lucas Jr. there. I thought he this was just valuable experience for those guys.
Well, one of the things that I always talk to Baron Brown, who's my who followed me at Grand Prairie, got my job. We always talk about, the jury's always out until you see people do something against people of comparable talent. Like, an example was, Marquise Bolden, who's a really, great high school basketball player. And, he hasn't had a lot of minutes at Duke and everything, but it's not because he's not a great player. It's just because he's, kind of buried in the depth chart. But at the end of the day, I told someone I'll be impressed when he turns and dunks on a 7-footer, not my 6'2" post man, which doesn't really say a lot.
And we're going to come back to that. I'm going to come back because that ties back over some of the international stuff that I was talking about earlier. But breaking news is Jamison Winston is going to be handed down a 3-game suspension according to sources and what the ESPN people are saying, what the NFL has noted, although he has not been notified of it, which I thought was pretty interesting, that they would put it out there amongst the media and verify it and say this and do that. It seems a little shaky to me.
Well, you made a point earlier that you're talking about this is the last year of his rookie contract, and he's it's going to cost him $120,000 a game. Where if it bleeds into next year, it goes to $1 million a game.
That's correct.
And if there's a cautionary tale of how Jerry handled the Zeke Elliott deal, I was telling a friend of mine, I'm not so sure it wouldn't just be better just to take your lumps, just move on down the road.
Well,
and they kept prolonging it and stringing it out and prolonging it.
It was a different animal with Zeke though. The money situation definitely wasn't comparable.
Right.
And the other thing is that I feel like Jerry felt like if he could keep Zeke playing for a minute or two, they could get enough wins under their belt to slide into the playoffs. And they almost did it.
Right.
And they almost did it. They thought maybe he could get something else going, but Zeke could get them going versus start without Zeke and then just, never get going.
Well, and I'm sure that I don't want to sound snarky when I say this, but I'm sure Jerry can kind of consider himself to be on the A team of the owners, the A list, and he's the kind of guy that gets a little bit of favorable
inside
treatment.
Gossip, rumor, information is the one his dudes turned on him.
Yeah, well, at the end of the day, he basically he would tell you, I got Goodell a $45 million contract, and when it was time to to help a brother out, he stuck it to me. So
no, it was I can't call the name of the guy. It's not right on my hand. I got basketball on the brain right now. But no, one of the guys associated with that process gave him some information, and he followed it, and then he bailed out on him and left him high and dry after he had gone the direction he had gone. When we come back, we're going to talk more about what's going on. You want these guys to grow up, but it just tend to take them a minute or two, and some of the choices, decisions, hopefully they learn before it costs them too much money and possibly even a career that they move along with the decisions that young players make. Come back, we're going to break down and look at the NBA draft analysis. We're going live right here on the Lone Star Sports Network, on the Lone Star Sports Show right here in Dallas, Texas, better known as Oak Cliff, Texas. All things sports, all things Texas. Today's show is brought to you by FastSmallSports.com. Go look at FastSmallSports.com, leading the basketball into the 21st century through the vehicle of technology. Go take a look and see all they're doing, what's going on. They're very active in this process. I think the owner and founder Ross Comerford is actually at the draft tonight. One of the Chicago guys, He went over. He enjoys these type of things, which relationships are built, and and to continuously service all 30 NBA teams. So we're glad to have them on support. FastMallSports.com. Back in 180 seconds with more Lone Star Sports Show.
So when you guys
showed some ability to separate. You're all back. Segment 2 in the Lone Star Sports Show right here on the Lone Star Sports Network. This particular segment was brought to you by Hartem Hotels. Hartem Hotels located in Houston, Texas, right there in the Bayou City, where put your money where you sleep. You can go take a look at Hartem Hotels. Lone Star Sports Show on the Lone Star Sports Network on draft night, basketball Thursday. A lot of good things happen on Thursday nights with basketball. It's either just before it starts or actually when it starts. Tonight is draft night. I mean, you can talk about it. Is the I don't ever remember in the last 5 to 7 years, the NBA has gotten so much traction, adoption, and are they doing a better job marketing the game, or is the game being fan base growing that much more? I mean, there would be a time that baseball would be stronger now, and preseason projection on NFL would be stronger now. And now it's like we're kind of in a time where that's not so much the case.
Well, it's kind of like a perfect storm too. You know, Adam Silver was always pretty progressive as a commissioner, and to say that Goodell is a tight ass is an understatement of all time. Mm-hmm. And you see viewership down in the NFL and baseball. I don't mean to insult anyone, but baseball still, of the 4 major sports, it's probably 4th, and hockey's about 6th. You know, if the truth were to be told.
You say the 4 major sports. You go basketball, football, baseball.
And then hockey, like I said, baseball 4th and hockey 6th, because at the end of the day, most people care more about spring football, University of Texas, or the NBA draft than they care about baseball, unless there's a local interest. And we talked a couple of weeks ago, and no sooner did we talk about the Rangers, and they went out and got swept. Yeah. They went 6-game skid, and it's just tough to keep people interested in the season that long. And it's kind of an old school game. So I think the NBA is picking up traction at the right time.
And it's a younger crowd with a shorter attention span.
Well, exactly, and then you've got the CTE issue with football, which time only going to tell how that's going to play out. But I mean, my wife and I talked about it. I said, if you'd have known back then, what you know now, would you let the boys play football? And she said, there's no way. I mean, I hate to say it, but I've often said football's about that far removed from the gladiators. I mean, what's next? You miss a tackle, you put a thumb down, and we kill them. You know, it's not far away.
No, there's a lot of gladiator nature about it, but I mean, we're a pretty barbaric society too.
Oh man, we call boxing a sport. And, you know, Jesus, why don't we strap on like bricks to our hands and stuff and just beat each other to pulp?
Yeah. I mean, we have barbaric tendencies that we want to refine away with a certain amount of intelligence. So we like to go right to the brink, but we don't really want it to happen.
Well, they talked about, I was watching a thing about the Rodney King thing, and there was a white guy named Reginald Denny that got hit in the head with a brick. I don't know if you remember it, but it was a famous scene where the guy was driving a truck and somebody hit him in the head with a brick.
That was in the riots out there.
Yeah, it was the riots in L.A. And everything. And they talked about the, I can't remember what the medical term is, but they talk about basically the mob mentality. We would all do things under the influence of a mob that we would be embarrassed for our mom and our grandmas to see. We weren't raised and taken to church when we were little kids to do this kind of stuff, but there's a little bit of a kind of a disturbing side to all of us.
Well, I mean, why do you think people do the rubberneck thing when they drive by a wreck and look?
It's funny because to that point,
they don't want to see everybody up walking around.
I've seen.
They want to see somebody's head rolls out of the car.
Yeah,
did you see that?
If I see someone's head rolling and there's a river of blood, then I don't feel so bad about my screwed up life. And I've seen a couple people die in front of me, and I really have to resist the temptation to look because it's human nature to look, but it's barbaric. And it's funny you mentioned that because I said it to my wife. I said I hate that feel that's kind of pulling you, and
that we want to see death. I think we're also intrigued by death.
Well, yeah, and
nobody knows where you go or what the deal is. Nobody can verify it. Well, everything is all on faith. Nobody came back and tell you how it was over there.
That's it. My old man used to always say, "Death is so final."
Yeah,
I mean, there ain't no mulligans. There's no floating mulligan of life.
No, right? No, that's the whole thing. We're kind of crazy. We moved back around, but saying all of that, and we went off from that little goofy social tangent we were on there. The deal is that I think basketball is grabbing a younger, shorter attention span group. Basketball commissioner Silva is just doing a tremendous job of kind of letting these young guys be their creative person. A guy like Jay-Z and Rock Nation comes in and swoops in. Now Puma comes in and gets 3 or 4 of your first round picks.
Well, there's a lot of a UBU kind of in basketball where there's a lot of goose stepping with the Nazis metaphorically in football. You're going to come in here, but you're going to shut up. You're going to stay in, and you're going to do what we tell you to do. And I think there's a lot of autonomy, in the NBA. And then the one thing that's really fascinating we never talked about was once they legalized gambling, I always found it fascinating that Adam Silver would never ever treat gambling as toxic. And it's really, really funny to me that football they play this holier than thou, this self-righteous thing about we could never let those gamblers get close to us unless we get a piece.
Yeah,
you give them 2%, Roger Goodell will be all down with the program. And if any game was set up for play-by-play gambling, it's football. You want to hear a funny story? I was talking to a football coach one time, and he's being kind of a jerk and being a little bit condescending because all basketball coaches are soft. So I said to him, hey, listen, let me ask you a question. If I have a timeout and I come out of a timeout, should I probably have a good play call? Should I be able to score? He said, hell yeah. I said, then what's your excuse? You got a timeout every play. 11 fat guys hold hands, 30 seconds. 11 fat guys hold hands, 30 seconds. I mean, come on, man. I'm way too hyper for that sport.
That's pretty good right there. But can you come up with any argument why Arizona would not take DeAndre Ayton?
No, there's no way. I mean, the only argument I had with you a little bit earlier was that you'd like to get a kid like Ayton at like 7 to 12 in a really deep draft because at the end of the day, you're not just going to isolate DeAndre Ayton and he's going to win a game for you offensively. He'll change the tempo of the game. He'll protect the rim. He'll change your dynamics.
But the thing about it is, I mean, I think that's a little flashy where you're going there, or a little shallow. Well, not necessarily shallow, but just maybe looking a little bit more the frosty guy that can score, the flashy guy. I think any time, and I actually heard NFL guys say that agree with it. The guy that comes on all the time over there, can't call his name now, ESPN correspondent, ex-player. You always go and get things that are hard to get.
Yeah, if it was easy to get 6'11" guys who could run like the wind, then we'd all have them.
Right, exactly.
Right, exactly,
right.
Yeah.
So it's a once in a lifetime. I think if a guy like R.C. Buford, who's been the general manager for San Antonio Spurs for, 16, 17 years maybe.
Right.
How many times do you think he's had an opportunity to get a guy of the caliber of a DeAndre Ayton?
Very rarely, and that's part of my argument about Trae Young. And I'm not here to bash Trae Young, but I mean, I'm not going to say the world's full of 6-foot guards, but the world is full of 6-foot guards. Now, not great playmaking guards, but by your own definition, it's a lot harder to find a DeAndre Ayton than it is to find a Trae Young, just by virtue of length and physical body types.
The likelihood of nature producing a DeAndre Ayton on a regular basis and versus producing a Trae Young, that's what, rarity always drives up demand.
Well, that's why diamonds are valuable.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah.
I was talking to a friend of mine, and we were talking about back when, it's almost been 20 years now. Kenyon Martin was the number 1 pick of the draft, and I told someone he's going to go number 1 in the draft, and they all laughed at me because he can't score. I said, yeah, but look at the motor. And I said, and obviously he had a great career. And that we always play that power game called, who's your comp, who's your comp, who's your comp. And my comp with him was Kenyon Martin. And if he had, 2/3 of the career that Kenyon had, that'd be a pretty good career. Well, but at the end, they would say the same thing about Kenyon that I just said about DeAndre Ayton, which is at the end of the day, you don't have to double him. And I'm not saying that makes you an invalid pro, but at the end of the day, drawing double and forcing help is how you create things for other people.
I guess you see a little bit different DeAndre than I see. You're going to have to help on him, or he's going to beat you. I mean, he has a lot of versatility. I mean, I talked to 3 close friends that are Pac-12 coaches. They all played him twice. Once in Arizona and once at their place. They said, Branch, look here, man. Bill Russell, Jabbar, Wilt Chamberlain, all of that and some is what he is as a talent and what he is as what he's able to do at the same time.
Well, Matt Riccardi is one of my ex-players who works for the Brooklyn Nets, and what he always, the 2 things that he's really big on is motor and character. Because motor will always show up when things.
I don't know who that guy is, but he's a man after my own heart.
And I agree with him totally.
Effort and character too. I mean, it's. You're right. I don't want to cut you off there. I mean, I just agree with you that much.
Well, especially with effort with a big man.
Yeah, right. No doubt. I do agree. That's another. I mean, Under hears me talk about that all the time. And you're going to, in the second half of the show, we're going to analyze and break down top 100 camp.
Well, Kevin Hervey is a good example. Kevin Hervey, I love Kevin Hervey, and he's a local kid from Bowie and UTA, right? And I was talking to Matt about him, and he said the only question they have about him, they love his versatility. He's got a little bit of that KDS thing, and one thing that concerned him a little bit is just not a consistently hot motor. And I'm not here to bash Kevin Hervey. That's not my point. But when you see a guy who has an up and down motor, you have to question whether is it going to be up on a good day or is it going to be down on a bad day.
But that's the whole thing. I mean, I loved Kevin Hervey. I saw Kevin Hervey playing on the Dallas Mustangs second team, and said, man, that kid got a chance to be pretty damn good.
Yeah, well, and I'd love to see what would happen if he wasn't. I'm not going to say damaged goods because that's insulting. But if he didn't have the injuries, because when I was talking to Matt asked me, he said, hey, why don't you go down and talk to those guys over at UTA, talk to Scott and everything, and see what they say. And I said, man, you can't get a bad word said about this kid. I said the only issue is medical, but I'm not a doctor.
Yeah, so I mean, I went in with 2 NBA scouts and watched practice and watched. They had a little computer bot like yours right there, Coach.
Yeah.
And a little template pops up, and they literally check boxes. And I don't want to disclose who the teams were, but that's going. That's the direction things are going. A lot now is that it's just a box checking analytics type thing. Those guys don't even take notes. He said the notes that I take for myself. So now that when we get, like I have dealing with one guy right now that's probably getting ready to leave the NBA and come back to college. And he doesn't want to do this until they get done with trying to make the decision of what they're going to do tonight. no more tomorrow night, tonight. Now,
it's funny, whenever we do our scout, now a lot of times I don't take notes per se because I'm kind of a feel guy. And what I used to always say to people is, if you can't tell who the best player on that team is without taking notes, then either he's not the best player or you're not very good at what you're doing.
I think there's some truth to that when you got to go do 118 of them like that right there.
Yeah, you got to find a way to well, I hate to say this because I don't want to mock you, but I
got a real good job for you if you can go knock 118 of them and rattle them all back out.
Well, and I always laugh about that. How exactly do you differentiate number 107 from number 108? I mean, that's got to be, and especially when you just met number 108's parents somewhere, walking down the street and they're not really happy about it.
Hey, man, that's a whole deal. But I think if we didn't include anything else, DeAndre Ayton is an obvious no-brainer pick. I sitting here watching the draft. I guess they're going through something. Never quite seen them do it like this. Some type of a parade of the draftees, a parade of the lottery guys. shaking hands with a bunch of kids, and all of them are walking down to go take their positions. And maybe that's the way they always do it. I just been missing it or whatever. But it's nice and festive and great marketing and good for the kids to have fun too.
You know, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Oh no, we getting ready to break away from commercial right here. Particular segment was brought to you by Hardham Hotels. Hardham Hotels located in Houston, Texas, right there in the Bayou City. Investment and development company. Go put your money where you sleep and take a look at hardhamhotel.com. Take a look and listen. You can see more about the value of being involved with a progressive company like Hardham Hotels. Back in 180 seconds or more, Lone Star Sports Show.
Hardham Hotels. Make money where you and millions of others spend money. Hardham Hotels Investment and Development Group's primary disciplines include hotel acquisitions, hotel development, hotel project management, as well as asset and partnership management. At Hardham Hotels, we invest in upscale focused service and extended stay hotel properties, mainly in Texas and other major urban markets. We are hotel owners, developers, investors, and asset managers persistent in our pursuit of successful ventures and passionate about our products. We provide nationally branded investment opportunities, including Hilton, Marriott, and Hyatt hotel franchises. Hardham Hotel strategically places the right product in the right location for the right customer. Get started with us today. Visit us online at www.hardhamhotels.com. Hardham Hotels, put your money where you sleep.
Hey, here we are at the Lone Star Sports Show right here at 6:30 on the nose. Kind of get a little impressed with old Honey and Lady Life over there from time to time. They to the second when they get things kicked off. Hit it right on the nose as soon as they kick me in. The clock turned 6:30. Right here at the Lone Star Sports Show on the Lone Star Sports Network. Tom Inman, Alan Branch, Lady Life, and the Prince under your money, giving it to you like it is. All things sports, all things Texas. Here in the heart of Texas, right here in Oak Cliff, Texas. Today's show is brought to you by Fast Mall Sports. Basketball Thursday, right in the middle of NBA draft talk. Talked about some things at the top of the hour when we kicked off, and but now it's all basketball. Any way you want to look at it, draft is getting going. They still got their festivities and stuff going. We haven't gotten to the point that we are going to disagree with anything that has been projected yet, but we haven't gotten very far yet either. Right. We just got to number one. Nobody's arguing with number one, you know. And I've seen drafts that people could argue with number one.
Right. And between the talent and you know the Arizona, the local thing, you got to take him. You'll have rebellion. You got to sell some tickets. You know.
Yeah, I think he sells some tickets and stuff. But Tom, I mean, you can't get another one like him.
Right.
These dudes are dudes that I know well. You know, and I never make a habit of just quoting guys. You know, unless it's whatever. But the point is, man, these dudes told me, Branch, it's unbelievable, man. It's a man playing with children. You see, these guys have no chance. We have no chance of guarding him. We can't do anything with him. You double over, he can pop. You leave the post wide open. You go chasing out there on him. Soft touch. I mean, he potentially, with the physicality, we haven't had anyone with that kind of physicality, athleticism, grace, and skill set at the same time.
Well, if you can step out and make an 8 to 12-foot jump shot, that's going to be a wrap because at the end
Coach,
of the day,
he shoots the 3-ball.
Oh,
well.
no, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
But, I mean,
right.
that's really the only issue. That's step and face. If you can step out and face and make them, play you honest, because you don't want to turn them into a stretch 5. I mean, next thing you're going to have a stretch coach shooting the 3 from mid-court.
No,
but
no. He's by no means a stretch 5. He's just a versatile basketball player. That's one of the things I'm probably going to talk about tonight at some point in time, is that, we think positionless basketball. I guess I'm going to talk about it now, huh? We think positionless basketball is something new. Positionless basketball is not new, because in the old days you had 2 positions, guard and forward.
Yeah, exactly. A good example, I was listening to Will Bond and Kornheiser, and they were talking about I think it was the 1975 New York Knicks, and it was Bill Bradley and Clyde Frazier,
Walt Frazier,
Rowe, and all those guys. And what they did is they did a great job of spacing the floor, and he made a great point when he said they found a way to space the floor and there was no 3.
Yeah. Because they created driving lanes for guys like that, that they were playing. But the point is that the reason I say positionless basketball is not new, because if you go to 1985 back to 1972, guys' versatility, if you left anybody open, no 3-point line now, you left anybody open, they made a shot.
Well, there's a lot of people. I mean, I'm a little bit of a peacock, but basketball's full of peacocks who want to think they invented the wheel. And at the end of the day, nothing's unique, nothing's new. We're all kind of recycling things that have all happened. We call it something
fashion, the whole 9 yards. I mean, music. Right. I mean, they call them remixes now. They or I forgot what the term is, but they take a Zach song and just override it with some more stuff. So I mean, there is nothing new. We are in some form of fashion recycling things over and over again. But, where I give them credit is basketball became so driven into specialty. You know what happened? It crippled the player. So now the kid that just knows how to play basketball, we don't know what position he is. It's positionless basketball now.
Well, you made a point, or I asked you about Jalen Brunson, and you were talking about having a very, very high level basketball IQ at college translate to the pros, because now in a way what we're almost saying is we're going to punish him for being really smart. We're going to punish him for having a high basketball IQ. And I'm not saying that's what you're doing, but indirectly that kind of is what we're doing. Because what we're saying is...
I don't know if I hear what you're saying, but I don't know if I agree with that. What happens at different levels, just like the high school level. You coached the high school level for 30 years, 20-some years, or whatever it was. And there were kids that were really good high school players. And I have one saying, Honey's heard me say this, and quite a few of my other friends have heard me say this before. As a guard or a perimeter guy, you are as good as what you can stay in front of and what you can get by. Are there any exceptions to the rules? Maybe. A little IQ, a few things that get you where. But you don't jump to another level and all of a sudden you can't stay in front of anybody over there and you can't get away from anybody over there. It's just not going to happen like that.
Right.
You have some really good high school players. They're just good, solid, low high school players. The bus doesn't leave until they got them on the bus. But now you're going to take that kid and put him in the SEC?
Well, at the end of the day, we talk about like a good high school team will have 2 good players, and a great high school team will have 3 really good players. So the 4th and 5th guy, part of your job scouting is figuring out who not to guard. But when you translate up to college, now every team's got 3, maybe 4, maybe there's one guy you don't guard. Well, in the pros, you got to guard everybody.
Well, and the key to it is to get to the NCAA tournament or to be successful in college basketball, you need 2 or more, 3 or more NBA players.
Well, you have to, because if you don't, they're going to have them. If at the end of the day, if you don't, like in the recruiting game, they talk about, finishing second doesn't mean anything, because it doesn't mean anything. I mean, it's great you can sit down in the living room, but if someone else is getting the guy that you wanted, you're having to play against that guy.
Right. Yep. No, that's totally agree. Totally where you are. Everybody's sitting there waiting for it to all kick off and go here. The clock is running in Brooklyn at the Barclays Center. Very interesting looking building. My wife and I were staying in a little boutique hotel around the corner from it. We had to walk around past it. Jay Williams, the guard that's under there, we were all walking down to the Brooklyn Bridge to the Elite, what do they call it, Elite 24 Under Armour game. And that was the first time I saw that number of years ago. It was back when time flies. Manuel Moutier, your guy, and Miles Turner, they were playing in that All-Star game there, Elite 24 in Brooklyn, New York. But we got a chance right underneath the Brooklyn Bridge. We got a chance to walk right past this place where the home of the Brooklyn Nets are in their program. That's where they're hosting it right there. But you moving on to number 2 to kind of stay on task, so we can stay ahead of the folks on TV, if you will. You see Marvin Bagley very much in person?
Yeah.
Okay. Tremendous, versatile basketball player, a true forward. You know, and just a kid that can bounce it, shoot it, athletic, quick second jump, lefty. I don't know. As a rookie, can he average 15, 16 points a game?
Well, you know, one of the ironies is when you take a kid like him
and rebounds well,
and he goes number 2, but then he has to play for Sacramento. I'm not trying to make butt of a joke that continues to be a joke, but at the end of the day, you're going to play for a pretty bad team, and there's a lot expected from you. And I mean, I know the money. There's a huge money difference between going top 5 and going, say, 26 through 30.
Mm-hmm.
But who do you go to when you go 26 to 30? There's something to be said. Go ask Draymond Green. Draymond Green was pissed off about where he went, but turned out pretty good for him.
Well, and I mean, and that's part of the process. I mean, that's where it all lands and sits. But you're gonna get a hard playing, versatile, skilled, rebounding, potentially one of the most complete basketball players in the draft.
Well, one of the impressions I had the first couple of times,
versatile,
Bagley,
maybe I should say.
Bagley would get in behind a zone, and I would watch him. He would just point to the rim because he's got a really high basketball IQ. And as soon as they went zone, he would just come in and hip check a guy, wedge him. The basket's right here. He'd check you right there, just go. And he's so long. I mean, what are you gonna do? You're throwing the ball at the top of the square.
Yeah.
And I was impressed with how he didn't seem like he took plays off, and it seemed like he made a lot of little adjustments. It's easy to bash a kid who went to multiple high schools. We tend to do that. But until you know why he did it, probably it's best that we don't do that.
Yeah, you got to know a lot of the details, and I mean a lot of it is crazy, and doesn't make as much sense. I mean, and they're sitting there for this number team, club team didn't win a game the whole EYBL. They still got an exception or what they call an at-large bid.
Yeah, to the Peach Jam.
Yeah, to the Peach Jam where you supposedly have to qualify for.
Are you talking about Bagley right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it gave his father a team and gave his father a contract. I got brain just racing all over the place, and we want to stay focused right here, but got some information on that whole deal, that whole situation with the FBI story. Got a breaking piece on that deal too, or some information that I was able to gather in my traveling around. But Bagley is a no-brainer, and it looks as if though the Phoenix Suns have taken DeAndre Ayton, I believe. For some reason, it's like the news cycle is ahead of the actual pick. Who knows who's doing
they
what?
usually the news have the pick. They'll announce the pick before the actual NBA.
Okay, well, it's good having the millennials around. They keep up with all that kind of stuff. But that's the piece of it. I just heard somebody make a question about the beeping, so I better stop beeping. I didn't get a chance to get it fixed, so I might get beeped a lot because all the things that are going on with the pick. That's funny that they announce the pick before they do that. Why would they want to do something like that? That's
Wojciechowski, all those.
Yeah, okay. Now he's just now getting picked, but ESPN just flashed it. But all this stuff is on ESPN.
Yeah.
I mean, what is it supposed to be for? The hearing impaired to see or something? I mean, what?
Yeah, if you don't really watch the NBA draft, like I don't watch the NBA draft, I'll just go on Twitter, and I'll know who gets selected before.
I'm watching right now. The second pick is 2:35 on the clock. I'm not sure if that matches up with what
No, he just don't go up there.
they're just showing
It's actually
8 and right now they're down to 227 on pick 2.
Yeah.
And oh man, I'll tell you what. I know he's saying all the right things, Marvin Bagley, about not minding going out to Sacramento. I don't know, man. Isn't that the town where dreams die?
I don't know if I want to kill Sacramento like that. I'm going to tell you what my man. What's my athletic guy that played over there a lot?
Divac?
No, athletic fruit.
I'm just kidding. Come on, man. No one ever called him athletic. Smoking cigarettes, yeah. Man.
Right. No, probably one of the most athletic kids ever playing in the NBA. Older guy, still playing now. He was on the day talking about the whole story. It doesn't make any difference. Won all the dunk contests and stuff. But Bagley, in my opinion, is a no-brainer, and they've already done that. Now, to me, this is where it gets tricky. And I don't know. We may be getting close to the break, and I can't get into how tricky it really is. When I come back, I'm going to give you some thoughts and perspective on the whole international angle what he's doing. A lot of people are projecting Luke Doncic. Still tremendous players, a lot of accomplishments in the highest Euro League. They're in Europe, not doubting the talent. Am I saying that he should be or should not be? When we come back, we're going to talk about some of the overall adjustments, some of the things that aren't considered when you start considering basketball players. The biggest problem I have with it is that when guys start looking at basketball players, they tend to spend a lot of time on the basketball. And in my opinion, it doesn't take long to figure the basketball out.
I can measure the measurables. That means nothing.
Right, yeah. You got to go back and try to and go from that point. Well, here we are at the Lone Star Sports Show. We get ready to go to break. This particular segment was brought to you by Fast Recruit. Fast Recruit is getting real busy now, going through the NCAA certified period coming up in July. They'll be keeping up with all that's going on with prospects, way to track your prospect. Go look at fastmallsports.com and click on Fast Recruit. You'll be interested to see how much they do know about your kids and how much they're able to stay in tune with what's going on with your kids. So prospects need to be careful what they put out there if they are getting recruited at that level. Lone Star Sports Show, the segment is brought to you by Fast Models Fast Recruit. Back in 180 seconds with more Lone Star Sports Show. We get ready to move on down through the draft. Hey, here we are back here at the Lone Star Sports Show. Today's show was brought to you by FastMallSports.com. We got retired Grand Prairie High School coach, guest host, steady being more and more permanent as time moves along. Tom Emmon right here reflecting and giving his thoughts and perspectives on all the things that are going on in basketball, Basketball Thursday, NBA draft. Yours truly, Alan Branch. And obviously, Lady Life and Honor Your Money, keeping it between the lines on the other side of the board over there, taking us where we need to be and where the show needs to be at the right time. Punctuality seems to be their niche. They're real good at speeding us up. When you start swirling their fingers around saying, let's go. We'll got to figure out how to swirl our fingers around a little bit at a time. We'll work on that one day when we get to play some real good golf. We come up with a deal. But I figured Marvin Bagley has been selected, Tom, while we were on break there. Not a brain set. Second jump, I mean, that's what you just love about him. He has a lot of things he's elite at.
Well, and you talked about rarity. You know, we talk, and I use the analogy of diamonds. You know, I mean, if a diamond was was common, you know, the
Be no big deal.
the beach would be full of them, right?
Right.
And so it's no big deal. But you know, at 6'11", and to have the ability to play all the guard probably 3 or 4, maybe even 5, but not probably 3 or 4 positions. But you can switch a lot of things. He's just extremely versatile. And you know, there's a lot of people who always say having the second pick in the NBA draft is the best pick anyway because it takes the pressure off making the mistake. And I think number one is pretty much idiot proof with Ayton, according to everything you said. But I don't think you can go too wrong. I would be highly doubt that Bagley will be a bust.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's there. I mean, everything that I've watched, and one of the things I was kind of alluding to before we got around, you start trying to evaluate players, and all through the night, I think there was a tweet that went out today that said that Alan Branch was going to talk about what NBA coaches want to, scouts want to know. What kind of questions do they ask when they call me on players? It varies, but and there's some basketball stuff. We talk basketball stuff. A lot of people want to say, "Oh, well, all they do is intel," and then. But the point I'm trying to make right now at this stage of the conversation is that you really can't figure out, or you really can't accurately or make a real solid, educated projection on a player until you really understand his makeup and the people that surround him.
Well, you know what you're talking about is there was a situation with Connor Cook. Do you remember him? He was the quarterback at Michigan State. We came out about 2 or 3 drafts ago, and the first red flag on him was why was a guy who's a 4-year starter not the captain of that team for 2 years? And he ended up slipping through the draft because that's just something's wrong. That just doesn't. There's something that doesn't quite add up.
And the one thing, see, the deal is that at the level that we're talking about tonight, and even at the college level, and if you're really, really smart, even you as a high school coach had a chance to observe certain things that you were willing to risk your program and team on, and certain things that weren't. And talent wasn't at the top of the list.
No.
Right. And it's no different with these guys, is that when you start to look at it, and this is what always kind of really disgusts me or disappoints me, is that the people, the human beings or adults that are spending the time with kids, whether it's parent, I'm not going to use one of the derogatory terms of handler.
I bet it starts with a P and
yeah. But yeah, we'll stay away from that. Mentor. The other one is guardian, and sometimes grandparent, uncle, aunt, or whatever. But these adults that are in these situations, it's almost unfair on both sides. Okay, you say, what do you mean? And Luke does go number 3 in the draft.
That's a trade.
Trade rights to Dallas.
For the
say it again.
For the number 5 pick and a future first.
Right. So they trade their rights to so the kid is coming to Dallas.
So now the question is he Darko Milicic or is he Tony Kukoc? I mean, we'll see. They've had a lot of bust white players. I hate to say it, but they've had a whole lot of busted white.
International white players or just white players?
Well, that's almost redundant. There's no white players from America. I mean, almost. Come on, man. Hey, but speaking of, where's Dante Del Vecchio or DiVincenzo? Where's DiVincenzo going to go? Second round? I like the kid from the kid I'm talking about that scored 30 in the.
Oh, the kid Villanova. Yeah, no, he's second round.
Yeah,
projected second round. Yeah, but everything that you see with this kid is shows that. But I learned something about the international deal, and I always knew it by American kids going over to overseas to play. But I learned it backwards when I got a chance to see the special on the Gasol brothers and their parents, and they talked about all of their experience and how they had to groom and go live with these kids and manage, and through the whole process to give them the ability to be able to adjust. So don't ever think that the social, emotional, mental makeup and stress and strains on a human being don't affect his performance. They actually have the most control on the performance. The psychological state of a player And that doesn't mean that they're nuts or crazy or anything. But we don't have our best days as adults.
Well, when Mike McCaskey drafted Charles Tillman with the Chicago Bears, that was part of the reason that they liked Peanut, was because he was a military family. And what they said was this kid never gets to live anywhere 2 years in a row. He's going to have a toughness. He's going to have the ability to deal with adversity. He's going to dig in. He's going to dig in and fight through it all. There's something to be said for that.
Highest drafted international players: Paul Gasol, Yao Ming. Well, he's right up there with the top of them with the 5 highest drafted ones. I mean, we glad to have him. I'm not sure that's what we needed. I mean, he's different than Harrison Barnes.
Well, everyone a couple years ago, they thought I was crazy when I said if I was Dirk's people, I probably would have gone to Mark Cuban and said, listen, the year they signed Carlisle to an extension, listen, let's blow this whole thing up. You trade me to somewhere I can be the second or third or maybe even the fourth best player. You buy time because you're going to get some draft picks out of it. Rick will get some time on his contract because we're going to suck whether I'm here or not, and they do. I mean, they're not very good, and they're kind of caught in basketball purgatory. My Bulls are in the same situation. Being 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th place gets you right in the middle of the first round, which gets you those. Everyone who drafts from 7 to 15 thinks they've got a diamond in the rough. And there's a reason that some diamonds are diamonds, and there's a reason some are cubic zirconia. And they're not all the same.
That's where the evaluation and the judgment comes in the whole process of trying to put those things together. Now, I do have inside information that Memphis coming up on this next pick right here, talking directly to actually a gentleman that has been on the show a couple times, that they are looking for an opportunity to trade that pick away to someone. How attractive would the opportunity to pick number 4 right here, right now, with the 3 supposedly best players in the draft gone, and now you got the whole option to pick any of the rest of the ones?
Well, a good example. Is Wendell Carter Marvin Bagley, or is Marvin Bagley Marvin Bagley? I don't know. We'll find out. I mean, Wendell Carter is not Marvin Bagley. Let me go on the record. No, I'm just saying I'm kind of like comparing comparable body types. And so you're getting the first 3 picks, you get the Marvin Bagley. And then from pick 5 through 20, you start getting the quasi Marvin Bagley, which are the Wendell Carters, and you don't know how they're going to all turn out. I mean, you don't know for sure how Bagley's going to turn out, but now you start getting to that, Mo Bamba, or Mo Bamba. He might be a great shot blocker. Who knows? He might be Greg Oden.
Well, I'm a little afraid. A little more inside information. I'm a little bit afraid about how Bagley's body is going to hold up. Get a little more weight on him. I think he could potentially have some challenges. Modern medicine may make everything work out fine for him, and he may have a good solid 12 to 15 year career. Tremendous talent, even more intelligent, tremendous kid. That's the other thing I love about how smart some of the kids are. You were just talking about the other kid. He was accepted at Harvard.
Well, what's funny is it used to be in the old days, reclassifying always moved you back. Now these kids are reclassifying up.
Yeah, we just had one of the
this
kids.
kid's supposed to be a senior in high school right now, right?
Right.
Charles Bassey just.
Yeah, we had to take a kid out of our 2019 ranking that's already committed and going to college and done, with the process. So he just skipped right out of the whole 2019 class.
Well, we know why that is. I mean, that's just to get you, the NBA contract going, because Marvin Bagley, if he was still a senior in high school, is 12 months away from being the number 2 pick. He goes number 2.
I got one better than that for you.
What's that?
You say to get the what money going?
Oh, no, nowhere but up.
Yeah, right. Yeah, when they get the money going, yeah, right, up. But yeah, it gets. We're just going to just say on the Lonestar Sports Show, it gets the money going.
Well, the argument about why do you take a young kid is, all right, Marvin Bagley's 19, so his rookie contract's up at 22. He gets a 5-year deal from 22 to 27. At 27, he gets another big 5-year deal from 27 to 32. If you take a 22-year-old like Christian Laettner. I know Laettner pretty well from Thomas Hill playing with him and everything. Laettner's I know he's the kind of guy that's easy to hate, but you really would like the guy. But like he said, he goes, I'm a 22-year-old white guy, so now it's 25 at the end of my rookie contract, and then I'm 30 at the end of my first 5. Well, who's giving a 31-year-old white guy a great big booming 5-year contract? And
no one,
not at all. I mean, they wouldn't be giving it to a brother, so it's not about the color of the guy's skin, but it's marketability.
Yeah, it's marketability and young legs.
Well, how much tread is there? There's only so much tread on those tires.
Only so much tread on those tires. I saw one of my buddies this weekend, probably going to have some knee replacement surgery, and just to see, at the point he's actually a little younger than I am, and his knee's just gone.
Well, Fultz that played at Virginia or played at Marquette with Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler was the up and coming player, and Joe was the more established player. But you can't play on bone to bone. He had 2 microfracture surgeries. So what do you call a guy with 2 microfracture surgeries? Coach.
Yeah, done.
That's what you call him.
Yeah, but there's no doubt about that.
Grizzly selection coming up here.
So they went right straight on and took Jared Jackson, and
that's a great pick right there.
no, that's a tremendous pick.
Yeah, I love Jared Jackson. I think a lot of people underestimate how big he is. I think everyone thinks he's 6'7", 6'8". No, he's 6'11".
No, he's 6'10". Well, 6'11", 6'10".
Yeah, he's got a great pro body.
Mm-hmm. There's
They said Trae Young at 5.
Say again.
They're trying to project Trae Young at 5.
Trae Young at 5.
Well, good. Just make sure he's gone before the Bulls get to him at 7. Who's picking 5th?
They just did the trade. Mavericks were picking 5th. So they traded up with that spot right there. They don't have the 5th pick anymore now, do they?
No, yeah, they switched spots.
So it could be Orlando, which puts it right back where it is. 6 is, yeah, that'll be interesting. I think that puts Orlando Magic at it's probably the next people going to deal with that trade. We're going to find out here in just a second.
So this has pretty much gone according to Hoyle. This is nothing. We almost could have penciled those first 4 picks.
I think the trade was the biggest surprise.
Right, yeah, exactly. I mean, I think everyone thought that Doncic was going to go 3, but they didn't figure that it was going to go, end up in Dallas. It's going to be interesting to watch because not right now is the when you start slipping. And there's something sitting in that room right now. I was just telling the story about Mike Kabongo was one of my nephews, and the year that he went undrafted, that's a long, long day, and it just gets longer and longer as you start slipping through because most people, once you get past about number 7 or 8, they start going for the best player available, and they're not really necessarily going on need. So it could be a long night for some of these kids.
Yeah. Hey, we're going to go right here to what we call the top of the hour. The draft continues to go. We're going to go a little bit longer into the draft before we get into the top 100 camp. We got the Lone Star Sports Show right here on the Lone Star Sports Network. Tom M. and Alan Branch, Lady Life, and Anita Wayne the Prince, giving it to you like it is on Basketball Thursday night, draft night. Plenty of information. We're going to come back and get ready for the report card in the sixth segment that we'll actually jump in on that and what Texas players did and how they matched up with the overall national talent at the NBA Players Association camp in Charlottesville, Virginia. Back with more Lone Star Sports Show in 180 seconds. Today's show is brought to you by FastSmallSports.com. This particular segment was brought to you by Indy Hoops. Indy Hoops, 7th Middle School World Championship, I think it's called. A 7th, 8th grade World Championship will be held at Drive Nation on 2 weeks from this weekend. Go check them out. Look at IndyHoops.com. You can find out more about it. You also can take a look at the visual that you'll be getting during our break. Back in 180 seconds with more Lone Star Sports Show.
How do you think these players from across the country compare to the players that's in the Wisconsin area?
Ranked teams, better players, competition, more teams that we got to battle against.
The competition a lot tougher. Like in the Wisconsin area, we get 2, 3 teams that usually compete, and we all just between those 2 and 3 teams who win all the tournaments around there. But this is more different teams. You never know who's gonna win.
Together, I asked them a question, what's the best part about team? And of course I got all the cliche answers. And I said, no, the best thing about team is your team. Having a bunch of guys that you can depend on and rely on. And this is a type of game where you can't do it by yourself. You have to rely on guys to be there and have your back and work as one.
Hey, back at the Lone Star Sports Show right here on Basketball Thursday, Lone Star Sports Network. I'll hit share out there on YouTube. We will be returning to our initial roots of Facebook Live here as soon as our staff is done building a new Facebook Live account where we'll be airing there simultaneously on 2 different platforms. Had too many people ask me too many times, man, where'd y'all go on Facebook Live? When y'all coming back to Facebook Live? What's going on? So we want to accommodate the people. Facebook Live is pretty exciting. And Trae Young from Oklahoma will be coming to the Mavericks. So Mavericks just grabbed 2 of them right quick. Did I get that right?
No, they switched picks. They swapped picks.
They swapped picks. But Jared is going where? Jared went to Atlanta.
Jared went to Memphis.
Memphis, right? Okay, right. So that was a piece that he was okay. Now it all makes sense. That's exactly what my man was saying. They didn't, So they got what they, everybody got what they wanted.
So Trae Young is going to go to
be right here, Dallas, Texas.
See how it works?
Yeah, wished it on yourself, didn't you?
Sure, he's out.
I'm happy for the kid. I'm happy for Rayford, for them to be right here. 2 hours away from their original home. They always loved Dallas. He used to always tease.
They're going to be in Atlanta.
So with them flipping,
we get Doncic.
Proposed trade
we get
right
Doncic, and he goes to Atlanta.
Yeah,
right.
Which means he'll get all kinds of shots because they stink. They stink.
Dennis Schroeder wants out.
Yeah, Darvin Ham just signed with.
That's the little other guard down there from California that came from Oregon, Dorsey. Tyler Dorsey's over there too.
Yeah, he's over there.
Yeah, they're doing a big rebuild when they lost Bud to Milwaukee. Darvin Ham was with those guys, and he said, "Man."
So those 2 swaps, that was the whole deal. Was they didn't want the small guard. That's what he kept saying. Okay, now it makes sense. Now, have so many things going across the deal. Yeah, no, it makes a whole lot of sense now. And I guess Trae could have made a reasonable amount of sense with the Mavericks, but it'll all balance out. It'll all. And the thing about this deal is that when it's all said and done, it's still not done.
No, because they're
might not
all kinds
ever
of trades.
Yeah, they might not even get a chance to unpack.
Yeah.
That's always a unique thing. Now you get everybody, and everybody knows what they have and what you don't have. I know exactly how much money you got in your pocket.
Exactly.
Right.
Well, and the post-draft trades are a lot easier to guesstimate because
that's what I'm saying.
You know exactly what they have.
You know exactly what they have.
Speculating.
Right. You're not speculating, on what's going to be available. So, big Steph Curry, can he live up to the Steph Curry comparisons? That's the only one of Chauncey's comparisons I've agreed with that he got pretty close to right.
Well, and again, I was talking earlier about how everyone missed on Randy White, right? And when Randy White, on Karl Malone. And when Randy White came up, because he looked a lot like Karl Malone, went to the same school, he just got overdrafted. So you don't know. I mean, Luka Doncic could be, he could be Darko Milicic, or he could be,
like you said,
who knows?
It's not a science because of the human factor. And that's one of the problems that I have with sports people, for lack of a better way of saying it. Sports people, in my opinion, just don't give enough consideration to the human factor. They want to look at all the tangibles that are obvious that are there, and I think the people that are really, really good at it have the ability to either have a gut about intangibles or really be able to look and evaluate intangibles about how they feel about a situation.
Well, when I talked to Matt wants to get a scouting director's job, and he's talked about if he ever did, he probably would hire me as a scout. And he said one of the differences, he said, instead of going to watch Kansas play twice, he said, I'd be more inclined to have you go to Lawrence, spend a week in a hotel, take Bill to dinner, go talk to people's professors, go meet the support people, go talk to the travel secretary, go talk to that's how you find out a lot about people, more so because the measurables, I can take a videotape and I can tell you what's on the videotape just like anyone else. What makes, if he's 6'4" long, he's 6'4" long. You're not 6'2", not 6'6". Well, anybody with a tape measure can do that.
And what do you think those loafers cost?
Way too much, because that's not a good look. I mean, I know that everyone says like the modern fit is the modern fit. No, it's the don't fit. He's got on shorts that are too tight, and he's got on loafers that probably cost him $1,000.
$1,000. I bet he did wish he got away with those loafers for $1,000. Those
Ferragamos? $5?
Yeah, personalized Ferragamos, probably about $5-6 grand, huh? Yeah. Well, it sounds like I'm the fashion expert in the studio right here. I'm going to say he paid $5-6 grand for them, and plus they know what he was needing them for. Had to run the price up some more.
Yeah, that's true.
They saw him coming on those.
If I was Michael Porter right now, I might be getting just a little bit nervous because the lower back is the one area that just spooks the crap out. Their Bamba just went 6.
There go Bamba at 6, right?
Okay, so now the heat's on Shaka even more so. Now he's had 2 top.
Well,
5-6. He had a 5-6, 2 drafts in a row. Didn't make the tournament.
Yeah, made the tournament. It slipped into the tournament with 1. I mean, that's been a big knock. I remember the rumor was. The rumor was that at a certain point in time, could he? Why was it that we're getting these great players to come and stay in 1 year, 2 years, and out, but we're not measuring up and performing and getting the benefits of having great players like this. We're not being a consistent top 25 team.
Well, and that's why they might short side him. It's going to be interesting right now. I don't know if you remember with the situation when Bama's brother went on YouTube. And
was not Bama's brother right there. The guy I saw on YouTube. That's for sure.
There was a guy that apparently was trying to. Is a brother or cousin? Somebody who was trying. Trying to be his agent. Got drunk and trashed him on YouTube, and I mean, it just
it was nuts.
That's insane, and it's kind of nice to see that didn't all blow up in Bama's face because so many times
they were talking about stuff that happened to the kid and what he did when he was 12 years old and 13 years old as middle school history teacher, social studies teacher.
Well, it's amazing because it's amazing how opportunistic people get because if Mo was 5'1" instead of 7'1", would they even know his name? Nope, probably not.
Nope, not unless he was spelling bee champ or something like that.
Exactly. Yeah. No one buys tickets to English competitions, right?
Yeah. Spelling bee champ does make the ESPN content lineup every year. I always like to see that. It was a lot different this year. Now we're sitting here looking at this is probably the biggest question mark of the night. Now is where Michael Porter actually has an opportunity to slide.
Right. He could slide to 15 right now because at some point in time it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Well, I mean,
there must be something wrong. Watch, everyone's backing up.
Yeah, all it takes for him to go the next two picks without getting picked, and that he's got the measles or something. You know what I mean? Everybody starts trying to get away. And I never knew how good Michael Porter was because I didn't see him. And then I got a chance to start doing a little checking and a little taping and came back and I saw some things to put together. He actually really, really is like a 1, 2, or 3 type talent.
Is he really?
Yeah. No, he is so so fluently skilled, can score and shoot and bounce and play and I mean, he could be the most polished out of any guys in the draft.
What you really hate to see happen now is
that's exactly what I would say. He's the most polished, big skill player in the draft.
There's a lot of disinformation that goes with the draft, right? And sometimes, well, not sometimes, it's always self-serving. Mm-hmm. Everybody who puts out disinformation out there is doing it for a reason. Mm-hmm. So there could be people out there who are drafting 11 or 12 who are burning up the rumor mill talking about how messed up Michael Porter's back is only to take him in number 11 or 12 because that was their intent in the first place. Oh. And I hate to see that because, I mean, it's toxic. It's a toxic campaign to begin with, but lower back is just, it's so, I mean, once they start talking about it, it never goes away.
Two things that I say it all the time. I've been saying it for a while. I thought it got Dez Bryant. I saw it get Tony Dorsett. Saw it get Larry Bird. And that's toes and backs. And I was actually, can't even recall where I was, talking to someone in the orthopedic business or whatever, trainer or something along those lines. And those are the two most things they're most challenged with right now as far as with the human body. Knees, ankles, shoulders.
You can replace them.
He said, we fix that stuff in our sleep. He said, but toes and backs, we just don't. We just don't. And I actually, believe it or not, I was talking to a guy that was needing some back surgery, a Division I coach, and he was talking to someone, and he actually been talking to Lon Crew. Lon Crew had back surgery, and has walked with a limp for years.
Yeah, I noticed that. I saw Lon at the EYBL, and he had that. He walks with a very noticeable limp.
Yeah, it's a back surgery.
Yeah,
back surgery. It just 50-60% of the time, it just doesn't go as they plan. Especially when you start talking about L2, 3, 4, and 5 right there. Those are the ones that they have the most trouble trying to manage. But that's the whole deal. So we're sitting around waiting on it. We're going to kind of move out of the draft here in a little bit and get ready to dive into NBA Players Association every year in Charlottesville, Virginia for roughly 19, 20 years now, which I've been a part of for about 11 or 12 years, has what's called the Top 100 Camp. Very, very interesting makeup of why they have the Top 100 Camp. It's obviously a basketball camp. Everybody wants to see the great basketball. But there are so many developmental things that are going on at the same time. So when we come back from the break, we're going to talk more about what actually is going on of the developmental nature at the Lone Star. Excuse me, we have the Lone Star Top 100 Camp coming up. Actually, this particular segment is brought to you by the Lone Star Top 100 Camp right here, the NCAA certified event, July the 11th and 12th, right at Drive Nation. Back in 180 seconds, we're going to talk more. Continue to follow the draft, and we will start moving and talking about our report card that will be coming out between Honor Your Money and Alan Branch at TexasBoysBasketball.com of how the 13 Texas players fared there. We had 14, one did not participate, but you hear more about that when we get back. Lone Star Sports Show right here on the Lone Star Sports Network. Today's show is brought to you by FastModelSports.com. Tom Inman, Alan Branch, Lady Life, and the Prince, Honor Your Money. Right back. I love it. I love it. I love it. Right here at the Lone Star Sports Show on the Lone Star Sports Network. Hit share out there for all you that are maybe chimed in and looking and listening to what we're talking about tonight. We are going to be returning back to Facebook here shortly. As soon as the construction of the new Facebook page is all complete, we'll fire that off and make all our Facebook people happy. and keep up. We will stay involved with our channel here at the YouTube live situation there too. So continue to go. But I say I love it. I love it. I love it. I was laughing. That's the great thing about the state of Texas. The Dallas guys always want to know how the Dallas guys did, and the Houston guys always want to know how the Houston guys did. Any other state, they just say, well, how did the California guys do it, or how did the Tennessee guys do it? We have two states here. We got North Texas and South Texas.
That's true.
No, it's all, if a guy from Dallas asks me, like Tom, and I'm on Tom right now, he's asked me about 3 times, how did Dallas guys do? How did Dallas guys do? And in this business, you kind of more or less used to, how did that particular state's kids do? And we kind of look at it. So every time someone asks me that question, I haven't really split it up into Dallas in Houston. Yeah, I just kind of like how did the Texas kids do compared to the rest of the country. And I mean, Snoop Johnson's gonna ask me the same thing, and John Yeary down in Houston's gonna ask me about the Houston.
Hey, maybe we'll have a secession vote. Like that thing in California. You see that little vote that came up? They voted to break California into 3 different states.
The funniest thing you bring that up. You'd be surprised the personalities of basketball scouts. You don't really know that until you at something like Top 100 Camp. There's guys around there that are just staunch political junkies, that are constantly analyzing what's going on in D.C., analyzing what's going on state, the whole economic process of everything. But I heard that. And these 2 guys were in a serious talk about this. We sitting here with real good damn basketball in front of us, and these dudes are going on and on and on about how that's going to work. I'll tell you who it was, and he's a very intelligent guy. A lot of people don't realize how intelligent Dinos is. He's a barred lawyer, certified. Dino Schweningos, when you hear about the Pangos camp and stuff like that right there. Yeah. That was who I heard it from. And I think it could have, if you get Dinos and Van Coleman at a table, who are probably 2 of the most renowned grassroots basketball evaluator scouts, been involved in the process in the last 20 years, and you get them at the table, you might not get any basketball from those 2 guys.
Is that right?
All politics. Oh man, they drive me nuts with that crap. Politics. I mean, they're well studied. They know more about the politics than they know about the players.
My wife is steady on CNN. I mean, she is
just like
steady on CNN.
Like we watch ESPN, they watch
MSNBC,
MSCB or whatever it is.
Well, I can't watch that stuff because my blood pressure goes up about 30 points every time I watch that orange hair baboon. So I just can't even watch it.
And then the CNN. I mean, they're generating content just like we are in sports.
Right.
Yeah. And I love it. There are people that are junkies that sit there and try to figure out, what's gonna be next.
Yeah, but one of the biggest problems is you got this 24-hour news cycle, and you've got 1 million stations now, so everyone's always trying to beat everyone to the punch. So you get the same story told 13,000 times, and it's all the same thing.
And there's no doubt about that. I often have to think about that when analyzing content. And I think I told Unnie this to date. I say it's not about the content. It's about the perspective that we have on the content. It's everybody's got the same content. It's a draft. I mean, we think talking about the draft tonight. We're not the only dudes talking about the draft. The deal is do we know something about the draft, or do we have some understanding or perspective on the draft that nobody else has?
Well, sometimes it's
that has legitimacy.
How many times have you see a situation where you can't tell if it really is the truth or if it's just the regurgitated truth? If everyone keeps saying it long enough,
it turns into the truth.
It must be true. It must be true.
Perception is reality, Tom.
Speak it into the truth.
If you behave, if I keep on telling y'all, don't y'all go out.
Colin Sexton went to Cleveland.
Yep. There's one more slide. If I keep telling y'all that I keep the biggest freaking Rottweiler y'all ever seen, y'all hear him bark just a little bit through that garage door, I do not have to worry about anybody in this studio going out to the garage because they're going to always assume there's a big dog out there. You have to see him. You believe there's a big dog out there.
Right. Perception is reality.
Perception is reality all day long.
All right, now Colin Sexton goes number 7. Ooh, the slide may be on.
Yeah. Was that 7 or was that 8?
It was 8.
That's 8.
Oh, was it 8? Okay.
Right. So the slide is on.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, they said the new medical reports on Michael Porter. Said the job.
It said
you know how
the new medical report.
Well, you know how this goes.
Michael Porter's a
what they do? Make a copy of them? Now they new.
Yeah, exactly. The funny thing is, we talked. I think it was a couple of weeks ago. We talked about how one of the reasons that they went with the one and done was because basically the NBA owners needed to save themselves from themselves. Right, and if you look at it, Michael Porter's a perfect example. Because if Michael Porter could have come straight out of high school, they would have taken him on speculation only. Probably would have done their homework, and I feel bad for the kid because obviously he went from people saying number 1 pick of the draft. He might be middle of the first round. Yeah. He might drop to the end of the first round. Who knows?
Well, no, there's no doubt about that. Well, we had a unique thing that happened this year at the NBPA Top 100 camp in Charlottesville. All 30 NBA teams were present. They'd never been there before. And I think they were blown pretty much out. They hated to have to be there, but they were there. Unnie and I were going in maybe on day 2 or 3 and ran into a gentleman. I didn't know that guy. before then. He does the kind of regional thing, stays up in the New York area
for the Spurs.
For the Spurs, that was actually there, and he was dreading having to go in again. He said, "Man, do you know how many times I'm going to have to answer the question about Kawhi Leonard?" Because I'm the guy that's walking around with the San Antonio Spurs shirt on, so I must know the answer to the. He said, "You probably know more than I know."
Did you see the comp that Chauncey put for Colin Sexton? He put Eric Bledsoe. Eric Bledsoe's built like a linebacker. That's not even close on a comp. That's not even close. No. I mean, I like Colin Sexton, but Eric Bledsoe, that's not the comp.
Yeah, but that's the nature of the beast, though, Coach. I mean, you can't get around those things. I mean, guys, sometimes a lot of this content is prepared for them in certain ways, and they got to walk in and grab it fly by night and say some things that they may not necessarily agree with. You got research guys. I mean, I'm glad to have a good research guy that kind of helps me here, because I know Unnie is 9 times out of 10 is going to get something from a credible source before he says, or he'll just say he doesn't know,
right.
Before he says something great.
Well, there's something to be said for just saying, I don't know.
Yeah, there's a lot to be said for saying, I don't know. Right. It can keep you out of a lot of trouble, that's for sure.
Now, the New York Knicks are picking next, is that correct?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
That's a dumpster fire. That franchise is a dumpster fire.
Yeah. My biggest sleeper in the whole deal is Kevin Knox. And I think I've been on record saying it numerous times, and I say it again. And now we're all the way to 8, and he has not been picked yet. I think he's potentially. I don't know if I want to say it will initially have the impact of the kid that came from Duke that played with the Celtics, Jason Tatum. But I think he's that type of a player that can be that kind of a player in the NBA. Because when you got size, you can bounce it, and you can shoot, and you can guard, mind rebound. It's just like Marvin Bagley. Marvin Bagley could potentially be a double-double guy in the NBA. I definitely think he's a 16 and 8. Y'all quote me on that. Let's see what we look like.
We've been sleeping on Miles Bridges too.
Oh yeah, Miles Bridges.
Miles Bridges is an awfully good player. See, that's another thing too. There's a book I'm going to write, and I'm going to bring this. I'm going to bring it in one day with the data for like the last 15 drafts. And there are so many deluded kids because there's still only 30 guaranteed contracts. There's only 60 picks, but you got 200 kids coming out every single solitary year. And this is when you start realizing, like a guy like Zaire Smith, he may go top 15, he may go 50. Mm-hmm. Who knows? Who knows? Because there's.
I mean, in that particular situation, I guess, because I know different. There's my guy sitting right there, Kevin Knox. Because I know different, that he won't. But the fact is, we know that 236 guys, I think I was quoted as saying, had initially put their names in draft. Now, some of them came back to high school and pulled their name back out. But the mere fact of the number of guys that are putting their names in the draft, that was one of the conversations that we talked about, a whole lot during the weekend up there is that who's advising these kids that are actually putting their name in the draft. I mean, what makes you think you're just going to get? You can't force someone to draft you.
Well, I always question the agenda, because that's going to be part of the book I write. Is what made you think you were special? Because LeBron should have come out, Kevin Garnett should have come out, Kobe Bryant should have come out. But for every Kobe Bryant, there's 13. Are you kidding me? Out there, and it all kind of it like sort of drifts off into Never Land, because every year there's a new generation of people who are going to get blown up, and we always remember the draftees. We don't remember the guys who don't get drafted.
Well, and the thing about I always say is that this is basketball in some ways can be one of the easiest businesses in the world, because there are no repeat customers.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
There's always a new crop of idiots that come through that don't get it, that don't want to see it. And I'm not talking about the kids. I'm talking about the people around the kids that will sit there and lead these kids. And these guys and girls, it goes both ways.
Right.
Not sexist about it. They are sitting there really believing and truly. That's why I use the word idiot, because if you don't do it, then my guy Kevin Knox goes off the board. But that's the whole deal. We're going back from the next segment right here at the Lonestar Sports Show. This particular segment was brought to you by Harlem Hotels. Harlem Hotels, located in Houston, Texas, right there in the Bayou City investment and development company. Go take a look at HarlemHotels.com. But right now, take a look and listen and see how you can put your money where you sleep. Back in 180 seconds. Hey, here we are at the Lone Star Sports Show back here, getting down into what we like to call the paint, right here in the going into the segment 7 for the evening at the Lone Star Sports Show. We got something funny going on here. Hope I didn't do anything wrong, but hey, we're gonna keep it going. Today's show is brought to you by FastMallSports.com. Talking about the NBA Top 100 Camp. We like to call it the NBA Top 100 Camp. It's actually the National Basketball Players Association Top 100 Camp. I actually meant to bring a brochure out, too. I'm going to go back and get it in the next break and bring it back in. And maybe I may have one you can take home. Be interesting reading for you. Yeah. But we had 14 kids, and Under Your Money is going to be taking the lead on a lot of this because of my senility and amnesia. Maybe it keeps it a little bit more to the deal. But we had 14 kids there.
We had 14 kids and 13 participated. Jalen Wilson was hurt.
With a broken hand.
Broken hand.
Broken hand. The kid going to the University of Michigan.
Right. So we had Samuel Williamson, Tyreek Smith, DJ Thorpe, Avery Anderson, Will Baker, Drew Timmey, Xavier Wheeler, Donovan Williams, Chris Harris Jr., Grant Sherfield, Cade Cunningham, Greg Brown, and Jemias Ramsey.
Greg Brown. Greg Brown's a kid that if he was to really work at it, he has Bagley type talent and size and ability. He's actually the same position, has all the abilities, but not sure he's developing at that same level.
Yeah,
and he's still. I mean, he's the number 1, number 2 player in the state of Texas, and
probably was.
He's a top 25 kid in the country.
Yeah, top 25 kid in the country, and
but he has those.
He's one of the top performers at the camp.
The more consistent performers, period. Definitely.
Yeah. Out of all the crop of Texas kids.
Yeah, I thought he was definitely one of the most consistent guys. Yeah. And the 76ers are on the board taking the selection right here.
Miles Bridges.
That makes sense.
Ooh, I like that pick.
Mm-hmm.
No, Mikhail Bridges.
Yeah, Mikhail Bridges, Villanova.
Villanova.
Yeah, keeping him right there in Philly.
I thought it was a kind of a coming out party, a source for Donovan Williams. I thought the first
definitely was a coming out party. I don't.
As far as then,
I think TexasBoysBasketball.com probably is going to get credited, and we'll have to wait for our due. We're probably going to get credited for blowing Donovan Williams up a little bit.
Right.
And obviously nobody in the grassroots community is upset about us doing that. They like us to hype their guys.
Right.
But I don't think the majority of people can see what we think we see.
Well, one of the biggest problems from the high school coach's perspective is everyone and their brother's a talent evaluator, but almost everyone has an agenda. And that's one of the reasons that you have a lot of credibility is because you make very legitimate distinctions between players, and you don't have a dog
you don't have a horse in the race.
You don't have a horse in the race, and you always got to wonder about the guys who like I say, who have an agenda.
Yeah, when we saw him in Mansfield, I mean, you can see, you can see what they're talking about now is a 3-and-D guy that impacts the game both ways.
You did all the work at Mansfield. I didn't even go to the Mansfield tournament.
You saw him in the playoffs. Did you?
No, I missed him that night in the playoffs because something goofy happened with the traffic, so I didn't see him then. Okay. I was struggling. I was trying to see this kid because his high school coach is Albert Thomas, who's a guy at Elkins High School.
Real well. Used to be Grand Prairie High School.
Used to be Grand Prairie.
Albert Roll, yeah.
Solid guy. When Albert tells me something, I mean, like everybody, different people I know can tell me certain things, and when they tell me, I mean, there's no agenda. It's going to be pretty much meat and potatoes and vegetables. I mean, it's not going to be a lot of sauce on it. And when I got that from him, and believe it or not, I was down in Houston at the Nations. What do they call it? The four Dallas Nations versus Houston Nations.
The Showcase Nation.
The Showcase Nation deal. Mm-hmm. And his trainer was the covering trainer for the event at Elkins High School, Fort Bend trainer. So I talked to her about him a lot. And trainers can tell you a lot. They tell you how much heart they got.
Oh, yeah.
They're soft. They land up in the training room full of crap, this, that. I mean, you talk about all those different people you want to talk to.
Trainers, yeah.
Trainers tell you exactly like it is. Once again, no dog in the race. Right. They just taping ankles. It don't make them no difference what the whole story was, but we got the story on it. So, I mean, I feel like when I look at a Donovan Williams, the last straw on Donovan Williams, I forgot how I figured this out. The kid didn't tell me, but the kid's still 16 years old.
Yeah, he doesn't turn 17 until September.
Yeah. Wow. Right. Yeah.
He's going to be a senior.
Yeah, right. He's
so he could easily be a sophomore.
Right, exactly.
Rising junior.
Right, yeah.
Wow. Yeah,
right. So now you tell me where is that kid going to be 18 months now? But he's a legitimate 6'5", 6'6", 6'5".
6'5", 6'6".
Right.
But that also gives him a higher ceiling. Some people
really
have a lower
low,
ceiling.
But what really caught my eye, he's playing against a top 20 guard in the country.
Uh-huh.
I should say a top 20 player that has a guard in the country. Playing against a top 3 or 4 guard in the country. And this guard does this and does that. He backs up and gets long. And this guy goes for his little cute little step back at about 17 feet. And he just reaches out and catches it right in his hands and never lets him get it off.
Wow.
Yeah.
And
so he stays down on defense.
Right. Yeah. He showed that 2 or 3 times, Coach.
Well, he had to be coached to do that because it's hard to get a kid to do that. It's not a comfortable position to sit down in a chair.
Yeah. Right. No, I mean that kid just boom, 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 boom. But the length that he had when he did that, I'm like, whoa. Those are the things that catch your eye about this kid. High IQ passer, but still a lot of Bambi left in him.
Yeah.
Yeah, still long, gangly, handles the basketball pretty well, passes it pretty well. not a broken jump shot. You know, some of the things that you say about this kid are things that you're used to saying about a kid in the 8th or 9th grade. That's where his old physical maturity.
Right, but if he's younger, you should expect that to
Right.
a certain degree.
Yeah, to a certain degree. Yeah.
He knew his rankings. He knew his ranking.
Yeah, he said, "Oh yeah, Mr. Branch, you got me way down there, man."
I wish some of these kids didn't know their rankings. Wouldn't it be refreshing? Hey, I don't know if you guys caught this little twist on the Mikal Bridges thing, but Mikal Bridges' mother works for Human Resources for the Sixers. How cool is that? That's pretty cool. You grew up in Philadelphia. You win 2 national championships. You get drafted by the hometown team. And you go to work with your mom.
Hey man, Philly's got it going on right now.
Man, I'll tell you what, and I just love it because I'm not a Cowboy fan at all, and I just love every year. We're going to win a Super Bowl. Every year, Jerry gets about 3 gin and tonics in. We're going to win the Super Bowl. Yeah, we're not with that bunch of clowns. Jesus Christ, man. Led by the clown of all, Jason Garrett. Jesus, you can almost see the puppet strings when Jerry just starts pulling Geppetto things. You know, who else can be 8-8 and still have that job? Jesus Christ, don't get me going.
No, that's just part of it though.
We talked about effort in the first hour. And then speaking of, I thought Will Baker played with a lot more effort, and he had a really solid camp.
Well, you know, Will Baker looked just like he looked last year. He was fortunate enough to be invited to the camp 2 years in a row. Very few players are invited twice, and not saying he didn't deserve it, but last year he was deer in headlights. I don't want to say anything that might be inappropriate, but he was definitely not comfortable in the environment.
Over his head a little bit, huh?
Yeah, just socially, period.
Yeah,
he was just looking around like, man. Nobody ever seen quite so many black guys at one time in one place.
I'm just glad to be here, man. I just want the free shoes, man.
Hey, he wouldn't even socialize with the guys. He was coming out the game, go and sit on the end of the bench.
Sit on the bench and just
with his arms like they're.
He just looked like he was out of there. Like
I remember
his mind was not in Virginia.
Yeah.
When I was a little kid, I remember one time someone said, "Man, you got to act like you belong, man. I mean, if you don't believe in you, why the hell should anyone else believe in you?"
And just like last year, and this is what's so fun about the camp. The kids started to embrace him last year. So he did a couple of things. They started saying, "Go Will, making him feel good about it." And he just turned in and just like blew the camp out toward the end.
Where's this kid from? I don't recognize that name.
Down in Austin.
Austin Westlake.
Austin
Okay,
Westlake.
Westlake.
So he's out in one of those affluent neighborhoods where not a lot of us that look like me live. You know? So, you know, but, you know, good kid, but started pretty much the same way this year. But kicked in, I thought he rebounded, he left, shoot it. I mean, it just has so many unique qualities. But like all positions, especially big guys, effort is everything for a big guy.
Well, I mean, I can't coach effort. That was one of the things I used to always tell guys. I mean, I don't even want to coach effort. I don't want to coach. I don't want to have to kick you in the rear end or grab a taser and stick it in your ear, you know, to make you play hard. You know, and I'll never forget when I was coaching with Stan Hicks, when I was the assistant coach at Plano. And, you know, something was happening. I'm going nuts, and I'm getting all pissy, and I'm about to grind my teeth down to nubs. And Stan said, "Tom, man, you got to tap the brakes a little bit." He said, "You'll be lucky if when you retire in 30 years, you'll be lucky if you coach 5 guys who love the game as much as you." I mean, I haven't coached 5 like that.
I've heard you say that before.
Yeah, and it's not even close. I got probably 2 or 3 guys who are really burns. Other than that, you know, it's, for the most part, it's just something to do.
You know, I jump out Chris Harris. Chris Harris, there's one thing that a basketball player can do to impress me. That's be who he is and be a good who he is. And Chris Harris was a tremendous who he is.
You talking about the South Garland kid?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Shot the crap out of it. I mean, shot it. But the one thing I give him credit for, he's not just a catch and shoot guy.
He can put it on the floor.
And not put it on the floor necessarily to go make a play. He does a great job of evaluating what the best play is. See, so many of these kids right now think that the best play must have something to do with me bouncing the basketball.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that, and I hope I don't step on anyone's toes here, but I was at that South Garland State semifinal game when some
a lot of us were. Everybody in the room was.
And I don't know who this kid was, and I'm glad I don't know his name because I'm sure his dad would want to kick my butt when I get done saying what I'm about to say, but I was watching Tyrone Maxey, and I would watch Tyrese not touch the ball for the last 5 or 6 possessions. I watched Chris Harris, and I said, "Who is this clown that just shot them out of the biggest game?"
I know exactly
who you're talking about.
No names, honey. No names.
And when I'm watching this, I literally it was visceral to watch Tyrone. Tyrone started about the 19th row, pretty loose. By the end of the game, he's at the fifth row, and you couldn't drive a toothpick up with his rear end with a sledgehammer. I mean, he was pissed off, and I don't blame him because it's like what you were talking about, self-awareness.
Yeah.
At some point in time, you realize Tyrese Maxey's our best player. I'm our second best player. You're our sixth best player. You give us the ball, get the hell out of the way. But I don't know. It's hard in an ego-driven game to get a kid to accept his spot.
Well, we got to come back and go really, really fast. We get ready to go to break. This particular segment is brought to you by Harlem Hotels. Harlem Hotels located right there in Houston, Texas. We also have Indy Hoops coming to town real soon. Take a look at the plaque and go to indyhoops.com. Be the 8th grade national championship that'll be going on at Drive Nation. So we got a lot going on here. Come back the next segment. We're going to go really, really hard and get all the 14 guys some attention. But if you really want to know the big story on the MBPA Top 100 camp, you can go and look at the report card that Money and Alan Branch will be drafting and publishing at TexasBoysBasketball.com. Back in 180 seconds with more Lone Star Sports Show. Right here as we come to the last segment of today's show is brought to you by FastMallSports.com. Right here at the Lone Star Sports Network, we're going to jump down and get down through it. Samuel Williamson was, I would say, really good. And there's the other Miles kid. Yeah.
Clips took Miles Bridges.
Right. Yeah, no, good. I liked him a lot, too.
I did, too. I like him a lot.
I like the kid from Villanova, too. But stand on top of the Texas guys right now. Samuel Williamson, I thought was really good, probably like 12 and 7, 12 and 8 on the first night performance. Tweaked his ankle, twisted his ankle or whatever. Didn't play in game 2, didn't play in game 3. Came back in game 4 and was just streaky, okay. Team was not that great. One thing you start to see, some teams,
They had no point guard on that team.
Right. That's Race carved out steering was not a good thing. You're right. I actually remember talking about that and looking at it. And but he didn't – you still didn't walk away saying we feel like he's just as talented as we think he is. He never lost on any of that. That's the kid that's out at the offer from Kansas, Texas. He's probably could end up in a blue blood type situation at Rockwall High School on the other side of Lake Ray Hubbard out there. But was good there.
Tyreek Smith.
Yep, Tyreek Smith was really good, kind of up and down.
Yeah, that's why.
I thought, it was kind of, when I wasn't watching, he was down, and when I came to watch, he was up. But and you said, well, how did I know he was down when I wasn't watching? When I look at the stats,
Yeah.
He wasn't rebounding. In game one, he had like 5-6 block shots in the first quarter and a half.
There was a third game on Thursday. He had like 12 and 6. He was playing with a lot of energy, blocking shots, everything. The next game,
But that's always concerning because as you move up the food chain of basketball, when you could be the best player on a high school court given half an effort, maybe let's say 2/3 of an effort. But then you get to college and you've got to give that effort 85 or 90% of the time.
That's correct.
And you get to the pros and you can't take any plays off, and so. Coach and effort, coach and motor. It's one of those little. I mean, it's almost hard to quantify. I mean, how do you really quantify motor? But it's kind of like, somebody said, how do you define greatness? I said, I don't know how to define greatness. I know when I see it.
Well, yeah, I mean, it is. I mean, greatness kind of goes along with uniqueness. Is another thing. I'll tell you, probably the biggest struggle of the whole 13 guys that played was Otis Thorpe's son, DJ Thorpe. Yeah. And I've come to the conclusion and that, and I hadn't said too much to anybody about it. The kid's just thinking too much.
Yeah, you can tell.
He's just thinking way too
ball
much.
Coming, he's not even catching the ball.
He's just everything is
out of sync. I mean, just
they're looking for the rhythm, and like a kid, that doesn't have any rhythm trying to dance or something. It's like he's looking for the beat. And good athlete, great hands, great feet, has all these things. And right now, if he could just buy into, I'm going to run from block to block, rebound, contest everything, and rebound hard on the offense end, put it in, not even worry about any touches.
But it's got to be really, really tough to be the son of a pro and everything, because especially with the advent of social media and everything, where everyone's that are critiquing every single solitary thing that you do and everything. Austin Rivers, same way. I went down to watch Austin Rivers play in EYBL, and I walked out saying, he's terrible.
You and I were at the same game. We
sit
there watching.
He's terrible on this level.
We went to Frisco to watch him that time. Remember?
Yeah, and he was just he was awful.
Yep.
But I think it was. I shouldn't say awful, but he did. All I remember saying to myself was, if his name was Austin Inman or Austin Branch, his ass wouldn't be here.
Right. Exactly. One thing I did see about him and I loved about him was he had that first step just like Doc had.
Right.
He had that quick step, and which could be tremendous at the deal. But we talked about Donovan Williams, and we think is, probably one of the Branch sleeper type kids if we want to give one.
Jemias Ramsey, I thought, played.
Yeah, Ramsey played really well until he met my man from Georgia down there.
Anthony Edwards.
Anthony Edwards, coach. Yeah. You'll hear about him.
Big time.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, 2020.
Yeah, I felt like he was the best player at camp.
But that goes back to what we were talking about earlier when I was talking about Marquise Bolden, and of course, not to disparage him or anything, but I said I'll believe that he's big time when he dunks on a guy who's 7 feet tall and weighs 230 pounds, just like I'll believe a National Guard does it to a National Guard, not a high school player.
I was never, ever high on Marquise Bolden. I thought he was a nice, studious, sweet kid. I thought he had a lot of God-given ability, but I always felt like there was one thing that you see happen in this business sometimes is that guys handle these guys in such crafty type ways because they're afraid for them to fail. They're afraid for them to struggle. And, I remember he came to NBA camp that one year before his senior year. He didn't play the whole time. Oh, my ankle hurts. I don't know about this. I don't know about that. You always felt like the fix was on.
Like they were trying to hide something.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're trying to sell you a lemon car kind of type of
right.
thing.
No, okay,
trust me, don't need to drive it. Just trust me, it's a great car.
Great, yeah,
the AC runs great.
Yeah, there you go. Right. Yeah. Want to hear the radio? They can turn the radio on for you.
Yeah.
But no, can't drive. They don't have any insurance on it. It's just there's always. The kid never gets put where he has to deal with some adversity. And I know I don't miss on talent too much by the eye.
Right.
There's no question about that kid's talent. But you're not putting him in the situation to have to struggle. Nobody's great without a struggle, Coach.
Right.
I mean, this kid, you see him being drafted and stuff. You got to realize I covered the little the guard from up in Oklahoma for a long time know Rayford really, really well. Rayford used to always tease the Mr. Rayford, I wish he was down here and we ought to move to Texas so that you could cover him. You really understand him. And because I used to talk to him a lot about what he needed to get better at and what it was going to take, a lot of different things of that nature. But my point is that you can't trick the game. You can't, you can't, and that's what happens so much is you kind of move him around here. Oh, he's not going to play today. Doesn't feel good. Or got a little jet lag. Or he got tummy ache.
Well, I talked to Matt, my guy who works for the Nets, and we talked about bias. And a good example would be like if Marquise went to Molina, or if Marquise went to
Marquise should have gone to SMU.
Yeah, SMU, TCU, Texas, something like that. But my point was like, I talk about the blue blood kid. You take a kid like just say Wendell Carter, for instance. If Wendell Carter doesn't go to Duke and Wendell Carter goes to Texas or TCU, is he going 6th in the draft? And I don't know the answer to that. I really don't know the answer to that. But there is a hype aspect to it. Like if you did a blind evaluation, you know what I mean? Because there's a tendency. A kid goes to DeSoto, he must be that good. And again, I'm not getting into Marquise and DeSoto, but they're a high-profile high school basketball program. So you assume if he's the best player on a good team, then he must be that good.
And he showed up and played in that state championship game when they won the state championship. Because it's not that he's not that good, Coach.
Right.
I just don't think psychologically he has had to be tested and stimulated on a regular basis. So when it comes time to push the button, he just doesn't have a good grasp of it.
Well, one of my favorite posters in my office when I took it home just last week was Jordan says, it shows Michael Jordan. It says, I've lost 256 games, 26 times. I've been trusted to take the game-winning shot and missed, and I failed and failed and failed, and that is why I succeed. And it's the whole idea that, what steel sharpens steel, so one man sharpens another.
Tony Benford says it all the time. I want to send a shout-out to the Benford family and bereavement and loss of his sister, but he says it all the time, is that people spend way too much time trying to prepare the path for the kid instead of preparing the kid for the path.
Yep.
You cannot create – you get ready to leave here and drive home tonight, Tom. You cannot just take a straight shot to your house. You got to navigate all the lights, all the traffic.
Right.
You got to do all those things. That's the way life is.
You know, it's funny. When I was in high school, my high school coach took a junior college job the summer after my sophomore year. And the guy who took over the job was, he's a guy that was like an inside hire. And I didn't think he knew what the hell he was doing. I remember coming home whining and complaining one time. My dad, who's clearly not my fan, looks up at me and he kind of looks over his glasses and he says, has it ever dawned on your arrogant ass that maybe the other kid's just better? And I'm like, damn, you're my dad. You're supposed to blindly defend every single thing that I say. And
That was the Anthony Edwards kid I was telling you about.
But that's not how it works.
Yeah, Drew Timme. Like I say, if he shot the basketball better, he would be Christian Laettner. That's how strong I feel about Drew Timme. Passes it really well, handles it in open court, makes good decisions.
But I would say one thing. They said
rebounds.
Jordan couldn't shoot. If there's one skill that I think you can sharpen, that you can really work on, I think shooting is
He
one of them.
made 3 threes in one game up there or something.
Yeah, he did.
I was looking at like
Because what you can't coach 6'9". You usually can't coach passing. Passing's a feel. I mean, if you're either a good passer or you're not a good passer. It looks like Michael Porter just went. Is that right, honey?
Let me see.
Or are they?
No, they're just talking about him still being an option.
Man, I tell you what, you got to feel kind of bad for that kid.
They're saying he's the number one guy that's available right now.
Yeah, he still hasn't been taken.
They say he's the best available right now, according to what's his name, Lim Bias. What he played at North Carolina does Jay Billis.
Jay Billis, yeah, Duke played at Duke.
Yeah, Duke, yeah, right. Same difference to me. Duke,
It's funny you talked about Christian Laettner. I was talking to a friend of mine. Can you imagine how good Christian Laettner would be in today's NBA? Because we called him a candy ass back when he played in the NBA because he was soft by those standards. Dude, if there was a stretch four, he'd make Kevin Love look unemployed.
Yep. We could just talk about Jamias Ramsey.
Yeah.
You saw him more than I did.
Play with a lot of energy.
Yeah, well, that's who he is. Until Anthony Edwards, this guy right here.
He didn't have much for Anthony Edwards. I don't think nobody in the camp really did.
Well, the interesting thing, I want to give Clark Francis the quote for it. As the camp went on, I read one of Clark's articles. As the camp went on, and the other guys started to get tired. Other guys started to tire. Anthony Edwards got stronger.
Yeah.
By the way, did you think about me this week when you saw Clark?
Yes, I did. When I saw him, yes.
I'll leave that one alone.
I did.
Hey, Clark, I have nothing to do with this, Clark.
I
Me and you are good, Clark.
did. And I
Clark might be watching.
I remember where I was. I remember seeing that. Yeah,
Clark, I have everything to do with that. But then again, you don't like me, and doesn't matter.
Yeah, right. There you go. Yeah, Clark, that's all Tom. Clark is my buddy. Avery Anderson had good, solid stretches at camp. Like I said, you'll be able to read the grades. We grade them from A to. We don't give any Fs. We go
incomplete.
Incomplete.
Work in progress, right? Let's not crush a kid, right?
Right.
Yeah, we're not gonna completely kill you.
Well, if you make money, you deserve to be crushed. I mean, I'm not trying to say that. I mean, we're gonna hammer every pro athlete, but they're grown men. These are kids still.
But so that I don't think we missed anybody.
Xavier Wheeler.
I don't know how I forget Xavier Wheeler. I felt like had more impact on Allen Branch than any player at the camp. I've probably been one of the most biggest. Xavier, and I'll say his name though. How do you say his last name? Xavier.
What high school does he go to?
Houston Christian.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a private school there.
What about Cade? You didn't talk about Cade Cunningham.
Cade Cunningham.
Bowie kid.
Bowie kid out here. 6'6", 6'7", legit small forward, skilled, everything there. Understands how to compete. Like to see a little more nastiness in his rebounding. He's a polished, well-developed, good-looking kid, can play. He's going to get a great scholarship. Whether he ends up being an NBA player or not will determine if that last bit of puppy comes out and turns into a dog.
Well, I will say one thing
that
he may never realize this until he's after the fact, but he'll be a better player at every point in time playing for Gratz, because Alan Gratz is an old school coach and he doesn't baby those kids.
He hits a golf ball a long ways too.
Oh man, he hits it a mile. He hits it a freaking mile.
Gotta get Alan out before he gets started back to school again.
We can do that.
Yep. So I think we hit everybody.
Grant Sherfield.
Yep, Grant Shetfield.
Yeah.
Grant Shetfield, we running out of time. I'm going to go here. I'm going to go a minute over. Grant Shetfield, and I was just speaking of Xavier Wheeler. I've probably been one of the biggest Xavier Wheeler critics based on the fact of him going to the SEC. I saw some things. And I was talking to the head coach at A&M, and Billy and I were talking. I just told Billy, I said, Billy, I think that he has some things that are unique. Earl Boynton nobody wanted to put the ball down on the floor, and he's starting to learn. He took the ball from every high level guard at camp. I mean, more than once, and he's understanding that that's where his real value.
Well, that's
is.
a difference maker, because not everyone does that.
Yeah, I mean, he can do it. I mean, there was kids that didn't want to be around him. They were looking for him, and I told him in the interview, I said, the more you do that, the more your value is going to go up. He started to shoot the mid-range. He probably from 15 to 17 foot, probably 65, 70%. Doesn't shoot the three ball that well. So stop taking three-point shots.
Right.
You got a kid that can get anywhere on the court that he wants to get, Coach.
So don't settle.
Yeah, so don't settle. Yeah. Don't do what you think you're supposed to do or what everybody else does. You do what fits you. So I've gone up a lot. As we ready to close things out, want to say that definitely about him. The Avery Anderson kid out here, the Fort Worth Northwest, was solid. Showed who he belonged there. Never set the world on fire and never hurt himself. So he passed.
Right. Yeah. You got a C or a B.
Yeah. See, we didn't get any A's, did we, Coach?
No A's.
No A's.
Tough critics here.
Tough critics. Back here at the Lonestar Sports Show, we are out on Basketball Thursday. You enjoy the rest of your NBA draft night. We see we got a big weekend over at Duncanville Fieldhouse with the Dallas Showtime event. We'll be going over there. We'll be covering that. Like I said, we send our condolences out, those that have lost. Lots going on in the college coaching area. TSU is getting ready to start in on naming a new head coach. We got plenty of work going on there. We'll be back on Tuesday. Y'all have a great weekend. Be safe. Peace. Hey, watch that heat too. It's a little rough around. I didn't realize how hot it is in Texas until I came back.